You know, the internet is just everywhere, right? From the first thing we check in the morning to the last thing we watch at night. It feels like this giant open space. But have you ever actually stopped and thought, who's in charge of all this? Who's making the rules? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and find out. It really all begins with something we do probably 100 times a day. You type a website into your browser, you hit enter, and boom, the page just appears. It feels like magic. But behind that one simple action, there is this incredible globe-spanning system working in perfect harmony. So that brings us back to the big question. Who is in charge? Is it one company? A single government? Some secret group of tech geniuses? The answer, as you can probably guess, is way more interesting than that. Here's the truth. There's no single president or CEO of the internet. Nope. Instead, it's managed through this really complex system of different organizations and agreements. And it's this invisible set of rules and referees that we're going to explore. Now, there's a formal name for this whole setup: internet governance. And it's not just one thing. Think of it as the entire collection of processes, rules, and groups that figure out how this massive global system works. Everything from the super technical stuff down to the policies that affect your privacy. So let's meet a few of the key players, right? First up, you've got ICANN. These are the folks who manage the internet's address book. They're the reason .com and .org exist. Then there's the IETF, which is basically a big community of engineers who create the fundamental blueprints for how the internet communicates. And you've also got the World Wide Web Consortium, which sets the standards for the web itself. The big thing to remember here is that no single group holds all the power. It's really a team effort. Okay, to really get how this all works, we need to talk about what I think is the most critical piece of the whole puzzle. I like to call it the internet's giant digital phone book, and it's how your computer finds, well, literally anything online. So here's the deal. Computers don't really understand names like Google.com. They speak in numbers, specifically IP addresses. The domain name system, or DNS for short, is the magical translator that takes the website names that we can remember and turns them into the numerical IP addresses that computers actually need to connect. So how does it do it? Well, it's this super fast 4-step dance that happens in milliseconds. First, you type in a website. Your computer then sends that name to a DNS server. That server acts like a huge directory and looks up the correct number, the IP address. And finally, it sends that number back to your browser, which then makes the direct connection. It's so simple and unbelievably fast. So you can really think of these DNS servers as the unsung heroes of the internet. They're a massive worldwide network of directories, all working together to make sure your request gets to the right digital destination. They're the reason the whole thing runs so smoothly. Okay, so we've covered the how. A little technical, I know. But why should you actually care about all this digital plumbing? Well, it turns out the system has huge real-world consequences for everything from the global economy all the way down to your own personal data. On a massive scale, this governance is what makes our modern world tick. It's the very foundation for global connectivity. It drives trillions of dollars in e-commerce and makes things like online government services even possible. I mean, without it, the digital economy as we know it just wouldn't exist. And it really matters on a personal level, too. This whole framework is what helps make sure you can get access to information. It builds the digital trust we need for cybersecurity. And it's what's supposed to protect your personal data. It's the quiet system running in the background that lets us connect with our friends and family online. Now, beyond all the technical standards, there's another whole layer of control: actual laws and regulations. These are the official rules of the road that are meant to govern our behavior and keep us safe online. For the most part, these regulations are trying to do two big things. The first is pretty simple: protecting people. This includes rules about moderating harmful content like hate speech and really powerful data protection laws like Europe's GDPR, which gives you way more control over your personal info. It also includes new rules trying to hold social media platforms accountable for keeping their users safe. The second big goal of these regulations is to protect the systems themselves. This means we're talking about cybersecurity laws to fight against hackers and data breaches, e-commerce rules to make sure your online shopping is secure, and of course, intellectual property laws to help protect creators from having their work stolen online. Okay, so to make this a little less abstract, let's look at how these rules actually play out in the real world. We're going to do a quick case study from the Philippines just to see how a country's laws have to evolve over time. This timeline really shows how a country has to adapt.
It started way back in 2000 with an e-commerce act, which basically laid the groundwork for digital business. But by 2009, new problems popped up, so new laws were needed to deal with things like video voyeurism. Then, 2012 was a huge year, with both a big Data Privacy Act and a Cybercrime Prevention Act getting passed.
So, what does all this show us? It's a direct response to new challenges as they appear. When you look at them all together, these laws create a real framework to handle everything from digital payments to privacy to defining what cybercrime actually is. It's a perfect example of internet governance in action. And that brings us to the final biggest question of all. It really is the central challenge of our time. The internet is changing constantly, and so are the risks and opportunities that come with it. So as our digital world just keeps getting bigger, how do we, as a global community, find the right balance between keeping the internet free and open while also making sure it's safe for everyone? That question is really what internet governance is all about.